Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So in the spirit of this video, of course, I have my Bitcoin shirt on, but I want to talk about really the big elephant in the room with all this. So right now as I make this video, we are just over 6.5 days out from the Bitcoin halving. A lot of people, of course, are associating this halving with past halving, saying, dude, the same thing always happens. Block rewards get cut in half. That means there's less sell pressure on the market. It means things are about to run up and go crazy. And obviously, I think that that's a big factor that I think is going to contribute to positive price actions for Bitcoin. Of course, right? I mean, simple supply and demand. There's a lot of things to talk about with the halving, but very specifically, I want to talk about this because a lot of people are saying now, people who are buying Bitcoin, they're buying because of the halving, right? And there's a lot of different reasons. And you have some of the smartest investors in the world and in the space who even haven't been in the space but are now entering the space, and they're accumulating a lot of Bitcoin. And they're doing it for a multitude of reasons. It's not just because of halving. One of the biggest elephant in the room, really the biggest elephant in the room, is really the value proposition with Bitcoin. Why, what makes it valuable? Apart from the fact that you now become your own bank, you have basically your own bank account in your pocket. You're able to store, receive, send your own funds, and they're all done in a way where you're not asking for approval of maybe the government in the particular country that you live in, and there's no closing, after 5 p.m. So you're cut off from using your services. But the real elephant in the room with Bitcoin is that it's limited in its nature, right? And the way that obviously the view is shifted on Bitcoin is viewing it as digital gold, of course. What people are looking at is we're in a very unprecedented time where you have countries, whether it's justified or not, continuing to do some of these horrific economic practices that have got us into some of the messes that we're in, right? You have even the biggest countries in the world printing trillions of dollars over the span of a couple months just to, in a sense, almost make ends meet or keep the people happy by giving people a small amount here for small business loans, all these different things. And you're talking about trillions of dollars that are being added to the supply. These are significant percentages of supply increases that we're now flooding the market with dollars. And one of the interesting things about that I think is obvious, but it's worth mentioning, is that you don't normally see the effects of that right away, right? Sometimes there's a bit of a lag with it, but nonetheless, there is an effect, right? You cannot pump that much more money and supply into the market and not see, a reaction from that action, right? And so what people, I think a lot of the smarter money people think, is that Bitcoin is going to continue to eat that value, right? So you have almost this perfect storm where sell pressure is going to be reduced from Bitcoin because of halving, but even bigger than that is you have countries globally, the US, the UK, China, some of the biggest countries in the world, like we said, printing like crazy. And Bitcoin is designed to eat the value of the world of these things, right? So I've seen a lot of people throw out different estimates of where they think things can go. It would not be shocking at all, and this is not investment advice, for Bitcoin to go into several six figures between now and let's say the end of 2021. And one of the most interesting parts, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was sent some crypto, has some crypto, and then asked, how do I cash out? And we had the conversation of, why do you want to cash out? And the idea of cashing out is that, so I can buy things that I would buy in the world, right? Whether it's paying your rent, buying gas, buying food, taking your girl on a date, whatever it is. And then the next, logical progression in that question is, what happens when you can pay for all those things with cryptocurrency? Is there any need to cash out, right? And by no means do I think that the dollar is going to disappear. I mean, you have the entire backing of the U.S. government as well as the U.S. military. Still, the dollar is what, is used as the global reserve currency for the oil markets. So the dollar is not going away anytime soon. But when the movie theaters you go to, or the normal restaurants you go to get food or coffee or pay your gas, start to accept crypto, it's going to look a whole lot different because people aren't going to need to pull that value out of crypto and into a secondary unit. And the real even interesting part with that is it won't go back. It won't go backwards. People won't see the ease of use of being able to have your own bank in your own pocket without overdraft fees and whatever other garbage sort of comes along with that. Of course, banks provide great services that people like and enjoy, but there's trade-offs. But again, it's like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's out. It's a very tough endeavor, and we saw a similar progression with the internet. Of course, we're seeing some clamping down on the internet now, right? Because it's sort of, like wildfire spread so quickly, and you can see some of the more powerful institutions wanting to, claw back some of that power so that they still have their thumb on the pulse of these big distribution channels. But with money, it can look a whole lot different. Again, of course, some of these merchants are waiting, for government approval to say it's okay to get this thing, or it's okay to accept Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, because they're still in the dark in a lot of countries on the tax aspect of it. When do they pay taxes? At what rate? When they received it? What if the price fluctuates? And so there's a bit of lagging effect with that as to why we haven't seen this fully develop and roll out. Of course, on the tech side, of course, there is things like EOS.IO and all the different EOS.IO chains that gives people the performance to be able to pay instantly and right away, right? But this tech is still getting out to much more the broader space in cryptocurrency. And again, as this progresses, you're going to have Bitcoin eating the value of all this money fluctuating in, as well as all the other things happening at the moment. So I think that's the big elephant in the room for me, is that it is almost a perfect storm. It's almost too weird, the timing of how this is all lining up. And I think that we're definitely set for a very, very exciting 12 to 18 months. Nonetheless, if you guys like the video, hit the like button, comment below, and tell me what topics you guys want to see covered here on the channel, and we'll get into them in future videos. Thanks.